Hey everybody, I got these signs from Dollar Tree. They measure at about 8 by 8 inches. So they do have some embellishments on them. They were really easy just to come right off. And they also had a picture hanger on the back as well. And I just took those right off as well. And again, those were really easy to just come right off. So once all the embellishments were taken off, it did leave kind of a rough surface on the sign. So I'm just using a 60 grit sanding block to smooth that surface right down. And I just did this to all 3 of the signs. Once that was complete, I'm using this Waverly chalk paint in the color Plaster. And this is going to be a base coat. And it's almost acting like a primer. So I'm just doing this to go over the original sign, just so none of that original sign is peeking through. And I did not go over all of the sign with this chalk paint. I just focused on the colored picture of the sign. And once that was complete, I just let that completely dry before moving on to the next step. So now to go over the entire sign, I'm using this folk art chalk paint in the color Seriously Gray. This did require about 2 coats for fuller coverage. You just want to make sure that you dry the first coat before going on to the second coat, and then allow that second coat to completely dry. So just make sure that you do the back of the sign, the sides, and then the inside as well. And you want to just do this step to all 3 of those signs. So once that was complete and completely dry, now I'm using this Waverly chalk paint in the color Nimbus, which is just a lighter gray color. So I'm just using a cut up sponge that I got from Dollar Tree, and I'm just dabbing that chalk paint all throughout the entirety of the sign. Very important is that blending is key. So if you need to dampen up your sponge, that will help the chalk paint blend a lot more easily. And if you notice that it's starting to come out a little too light, don't worry about that, because we're going to go over it with a darker gray as well. So now I'm going over the entire sign again with that color Seriously Gray. And this just starts making the piece look like galvanized metal. That was my goal, and I think it came out looking pretty darn close to what galvanized metal looks like. So here I am again, just doing the inside this time, starting off with that color Nimbus and just going all throughout the sign, just dab, dab, dab. And I noticed that it was just coming out a little too bright, so I just added more of that Seriously Gray right over it. And again, blending is key. I was wetting my sponge just a little bit and then just continue to dab. And look at how awesome this came out. So I wanted this to look a little bit more weathered and rustic. So I'm using some Waverly antique wax. I just put a very small amount on my paintbrush and just brushed the wax where I wanted it. And rather than using the paintbrush to blend, I'm actually using my finger to blend in that antique wax. And I think blending with my finger actually came out so much better rather than trying to blend it with the paintbrush. So if you don't mind getting your hands dirty, I highly recommend you do it with your finger rather than that paintbrush. So I'm just placing the antique wax where metal will naturally rust. So like around the corners and the edges and just a little bit on the inside. And just look at how cool this came out. I just love it. So now I'm using a total of 4 of these 5-gallon paint stir sticks. You could get these at Home Depot. I'm using this Waverly chalk paint in the color Truffle, and I'm using a baby wipe to apply this paint on. So this leaves you with a nice wood finish look. And then you want to allow those to completely dry. Once completely dry, now it's time to assemble this all together. So using this adhesive glue that you could get from Dollar Tree with a mixture of hot glue, I'm just placing 2 of those paint stir sticks right on the bottom side of one of the signs. And then I just began placing the other 2 along the paint stir sticks as well. And then I flipped it upside down and I just placed 2 more of those paint stir sticks on the other side as well. And you do just want to allow this to completely dry for about 24 hours. And there you go, guys. I hope you enjoyed watching this as much as I enjoyed creating it. This is a great little shelf that you could put in your bathroom, or you could even display it in your kitchen. But how fun was this? As always, please be sure to sprinkle the love. Thank you guys so much, and I hope you have a good rest of your day. Thanks. Bye.